just determine when we're live by watching it?
I'll see when he starts it. I'll see the thing pop up. I don't see it.
It's all done. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too. He just said to stand by.
Years ago, before I became a counselor, so that's 14 years ago, I was going to itemize it just to have.
They weren't
Yes, they weren't attached to it.
All right, Dorothy. We can begin, I believe. Yep. In 3, 2, 1.
That's terrible. No, I meant like.
I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to the first in-person meeting of the Municipal Heritage Committee in quite a long time. And I'll start with the land acknowledgement statement. On Wednesday, June 28th, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. First item of business is the approval of the agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to add to the agenda before we have a motion to approve it? No? Would someone move that we approve the agenda then, please? Lorraine, thank you. And a seconder? Chris? All in favor of approving the agenda? Passed, thank you. Next item is the adoption of the minutes from our last meeting on May 24th. Would someone move that we adopt those minutes? Class, thank you. And a seconder? Mary Ann? All in favor?
Can I?
Okay.
I think the date might be wrong. On
The
the
date?
minutes.
Yes, yes. The date, thank you. The date at the top of the minutes didn't get changed from the meeting before, so it should say May 24th instead of April 26th. Thank you for noticing that. Okay, I'll just ask for that vote again. All in favor of the adjusted minutes? Okay, passed. Thank you. Disclosure of monetary interest, anyone? All right, we'll proceed with the priority issues then. Priority issue number 1, 2023 to 2024 Heritage Education Initiatives. And I'll just explain briefly why this is on there as the first priority issue. On June the 14th, the Heritage Register Review Working Group met with Senior Planner Grenke and Planning Clerk Mary Remick. And we had a good discussion. We emphasized the need to put our efforts where they were most needed. And we talked quite a bit about the need to educate the public about heritage, the importance of preserving our historic downtown buildings, and the need for us to get public support for preserving heritage. One of the things that we talked about and have talked about in the past is the preparation of a pamphlet primarily intended for property owners that we hope would be printed and have an online version. And that's something that we can certainly work on in the near future. But I wonder if we can just have a committee discussion about educational initiatives that we think would be a good idea. Tony?
I know the town has a handout when somebody comes to town. You get the welcoming basket. Could we put it in with that and just inform them what the Municipal Heritage Committee is, what its function is, what it does, and if they are in a district or if their house is so designated, what it might mean, and the positive attributes to the committee, and also having their property designated.
Sounds like a good idea. Lorraine?
Also, I think it should go on our work plan, because somebody has to create that, right?
Yes, you're right. It is on the work plan.
And I like,
But
is it?
there aren't any, yes, it is there, second to last, but there aren't any details.
Oh, okay.
And it does say to be added to June 28th meeting for discussion, so we can, yeah.
I just feel of all the things we need to do, as Tony said, I think right now it's going to be a lead up to all the things we want them to come to and be interested in. So if they don't know what a heritage conservation district is, they're going to be like, I don't know, why would I want to go to that? You know, so I think having that done right away might be a priority.
You mean the pamphlet?
Yeah.
Yes, the pamphlet, right. Klaus, you were going to comment?
Yeah, I agree with the pamphlet idea. I'm wondering if we should distribute those into the high school. Because I find when I'm talking to any of the high school students that have worked for me in the summertime, they know nothing about the heritage, the Smith Falls, the history. We have the Rideau Canal, which is in UNESCO, however you say that. UNESCO. Running through our town, which is very rare. And you ask any of the students, certainly the ones that I have been in contact with, they have no idea what the Rideau Canal is about. So the high schools, I mean, I think if you start educating at the junior level, most of the seniors do know and so forth, but I think the high school kids should be informed of this.
Perhaps there isn't enough emphasis on local history in the curriculum. Maybe there isn't any.
No, there's no curriculum on Canadian history that's broadened that out here a little bit, let alone any local history.
There is an elementary, but I
Yes.
don't know how much that follows. I don't think in high school it
No.
follows.
None.
I think in high school they go in different aspects of things rather than the town of Smith Falls.
Yeah.
But I know in the school system up to K-8, there's a lot of it. Every year there's a focus of certain, or was, I shouldn't say that, I've been out of it for quite a while, maybe there isn't now.
But it'd be worthwhile looking into to see if there is anything that these pamphlets could be put in the schools just as well as available for our tours.
I'm kind of thinking we might be talking about two different pamphlets. We might be talking about one directed at property owners and another one that's more general, following up on what you said. So,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
yes. Other suggestions for any ways that we can educate the public about heritage?
Let's go. Sorry.
One of the things that Mary and I discussed, I think it was following our meeting, was the heritage snapshots that were done before for Heritage. Were they done for Heritage Week? They were. Okay. And we could do that. I think previously it was the designated buildings that were subject of the heritage snapshots. But what we could do is start into the properties of interest, particularly those in the downtown, which are, we hope, would be part of the district, and start providing information about those buildings. That goes online, I assume, and that would certainly increase awareness of our conservation district initiative and what these buildings are and why we would like to preserve them. Any other thoughts?
I wonder if other communities, if there's a community out there that has one already that we could look at just for, to to save time on what does it look like? What did they do in theirs that we might want to do? I don't know. Carl might know, or Mary could find out, but I'm thinking some communities may already have that educational pamphlet.
And I do believe, as we're
Mississippi
talking
Mills
about
maybe
it,
even?
I think Katie Hoffman started working on
She
it.
did, and she would probably, that might get her back to us.
Well, at the very least, we could ask her for what
Yeah.
she did prepare.
Yeah.
And that would be a good starting
Take
point.
that on, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And we'll certainly address those things at the next time that working group meets. Any further discussion on that subject? Okay, we'll go ahead with priority issue number 2, which is the Stone Arch Bridge. This is a piece of unfinished business from the last term. We included it on the properties of interest list. We passed a motion asking council to consider designating the Stone Arch Bridge, but we didn't quite finish the work because we had not identified the key heritage attributes, which needs to be done if it's going to be a designated property. I had a bit of a problem with that because it seemed to me the whole thing was, but Mary sent out to you the written description, the summary of the information about the Stone Arch Bridge, and I wonder if we can maybe we can just pull some things from that summary and list them as key heritage attributes. I've got to find that paper here. It was kind of easier when you weren't in. Okay. I suspect, Mary, you added this one. It's key attributes that embody the heritage value of this property include the 2 stone archways situated under the canal.
I didn't actually. I believe that at one point the committee revised it before this motion was passed, and it was something that was on record.
Okay. And that's one. I also wondered if it would be a key heritage attribute to say that the dark limestone construction of the bridge is the same as that, and it's included in the text of the summary, is the same as that below the windows on the East Mill, and is the same dark limestone that was used in the construction of Town Hall.
Yeah.
I think that would be an attribute. Everyone agrees.
The first known picture of that bridge is for the grand opening of the wood mill complex. They coincided with each other because at that time he was starting to haul in, 50,000 bushels. He was storing them at Woods Mill. He needed a bridge. And it is exactly the same stone that's in the wood mill complex, which is a federally designated building, is it not?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Well, I would assume so. It's a Parks Canada building, but
Canada,
it's
yeah.
also on our list of designated properties.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is one of them. Yeah.
Mhm.
So perhaps it's been done twice. I'm not sure. Anything else that we could say about the key heritage attributes of the Stone Arch Bridge?
I think it's key in the whole history of the mills and our, the beginning of our town. I mean, it was central to all of those. And there's very few left. I mean, to me, if you look back at some of the buildings that are gone now, it's one of the few remaining ones. And so if we don't protect the few that are left.
It is the only stone bridge in Smith Falls.
It's a third bridge on that site. The first one was a rickety structure that pretty much fell down by about 32. Then they rebuilt it, and around 1860, with the increased wagon loads going over it, they reconstructed the deck. The trestles underneath were okay, but the deck was bad. But of course, when Wood got this, it expanded the wood mill complex. They needed a bigger bridge.
And was it still wood then, Tony?
Pardon?
It was still wood, the next one.
The first 2 were wood. Yeah, the one that was there the longest before the stone bridge was a trestle bridge.
Right.
So key attributes is the arches and its longevity. And the very fact that it's been modified how many times now? And what's remarkable, it was built in 1890, and 6 years ago, it was perfectly capable of being modified to what it is currently.
Chris?
Maybe if there's a heritage stonemason we could find that would want to take a look at it, or take a look at what we've got and take a look at the bridge just to confirm. I know sometimes, a new set of eyes on these things years down the road points out stuff we don't get. But,
That's a great idea. Yeah. Do you know one?
that's the problem.
Yeah, we lost the one.
We have a couple companies now doing stonemasonry. I just can't think of the names.
It's unfortunate they're not in Perth anymore.
No, that's right, Tony. I was going to say that. I don't know if you know the person I had working for me, Joe Ty. Anybody recognize that name? Joe Ty he's from England. He goes back to England every year to do stonework, and that he might be a person who could take a look at it. He redid the entire tower at the Presbyterian Church years ago. You remember we did that, right? He did that completely.
What's his first name? John?
Joe
Joe
Ty. Joe Ty. He's working over on
TYE?
GIGH.
Oh,
GIGH. He's working on that new complex at Corfit's building. He's doing the stonework there right now. So if I run into him, I'll ask him.
That would
I
be
know.
Yeah.
And I also know where he hangs out too.
Or you'll track him down.
I've tried to track him down many times, and people said, "Klaus, what are you doing in the bars lately?" Trying to find Joe Dye. That's fine.
Okay, well,
I'll
that's
try
good.
to track him down.
We have a contact, so if you could follow up on that, that would be helpful.
Guess it doesn't make a note of that.
Eventually, we'll need to set a tentative date to present this to council, but yes?
Sorry, just the other thing on it was I think we need to take out the Confederation Bridge part.
Right, so should we revise the motion at this point then?
Whatever, if we need to, if we don't, because we've had a lot of conversation on Confederation Bridge. Has been on the agenda multiple times since the February 2022. So I feel like we're kind of, it is what it is on that one. And
so are you saying that because it's gone, there's no debate anymore?
well, it was gone in the last term of council, so I'm not going to bring it up in this one.
Sorry, Madam Chair, if the committee would like to revise the motion, you can do a motion to modify the original motion.
Okay, let's do that then. Will you?
No, I won't vote to get rid of it. It's ridiculous.
So we can make a motion to revise the original motion to remove the Confederation Bridge from the motion. Would somebody make that motion? Chris, would somebody second it? We can't discuss it unless there's a motion on the table. Klaus, thank you.
Now we can discuss it.
Okay, now we can discuss it.
Question? Sorry. Question?
Yes?
Why are we wanting to remove the Confederation Bridge? I'm not clear why we want to move it out of there.
I think you can answer that, right, Chris?
Yeah, so this one's come to the MHC multiple times in council, a lot of times, and the last engineer report that the town received showed that several of the critical plates and members of the steel have just completely rotted through.
Right.
So combined with the lead paint that would need to be rehabilitated on the structure and the advanced deterioration of the steel, there's nothing left to rehabilitate, and it was basically either refurbish it, clone it, or put something new there, or don't put anything there. But the structure that's there is there's nothing left to it. So
So it's basically well, we know is the Confederation Bridge is gonna disappear.
Yeah, despite, despite efforts to try to get the maintenance done on it year over year, but it just, the maintenance needed to be done to save it 10, 15, 20 years ago. And,
Right.
yeah, so I think with all the, I know with the last term of MHC and the last term of council, we really pushed to try to see if there was options. We tried to get a second set of eyes on it. Personally, I feel like the due diligence has been done on that one. That it's not a happy result, but it's the result that's here, and it's that much more frustrating that like this group or the council group wasn't there 10 years ago to make those decisions. But just the reality we're with is that if something doesn't get maintained, it doesn't survive.
So basically, in a nutshell, in the future, if somebody's looking for the Heritage Confederation Bridge, they're not gonna find it.
No. Well, I think this is the thing where there's definitely still probably a job to, we could try to compile all the documentation that's been done on it, and it'd be a great spot for a pedestal. Yeah. But as for starting a campaign to try to save it after the reports we received in the last term of council, I don't see any. I just don't see anything to work with. So unless somebody's found something that's game changing to the previous reports, then
I understand. So
it seems to me that there would be little point in recommending that council designate the Confederation Bridge at this point.
no.
There's no point in that, is there? So
They would turn it down.
well, yes, of course. So we have a motion then to remove that from the original motion. And it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion to remove Confederation Bridge from that statement then? Do I get to vote?
Yeah, I will vote as well.
Okay. Passed. Okay, moving on to the project updates then. The Heritage Register Review Working Group, I've pretty well already said what we discussed during our meeting. Unless Tony or Mary Ann, you have anything to add from that meeting that we had with Carl and Mary?
No, just to wrap up, it was practically, we're waiting for what the Heritage District is going to be putting forward, because we didn't see much point in designating buildings all in the downtown core, then all of a sudden having them encompassed in a Heritage District. But we're very excited to hear about the Heritage District going ahead, and the only thing we asked for is some kind of timeline when it would be going ahead, because we know things kind of get caught in molasses sometimes. So, when is it happening? That would be my question from our meeting.
And I think we did ask that question at the last meeting.
At our meeting. Yeah.
Yes, and we asked it at the last meeting of this committee as well.
I wasn't here.
Oh, that's right. And I think it was in here somewhere. Oh, Chris, you responded to that. And according to the minutes, Carl advised that the work would commence prior to the first quarter of 2024, as the budget has already been allocated for the project. Am I correct there?
Yeah, that was the last. Mary, did you have an update too?
Sorry, I can provide an update on that. So essentially the work's not starting until the strategic plan is passed at the council level. And my understanding is that the strategic plan has not yet been adopted by council at this time. So the committee should see an RFP document with the terms of reference for the HCD RFP at the meeting following the adoption of the strategic plan.
When is that, Mary? When is that meeting?
Sorry?
Do we have a timeline on the adoption of the strategic plan?
I do not.
So I guess we can ask that at every meeting?
I guess we could, yes.
Good.
Yes, we might as well. Okay, next item on the agenda is the symposium working group. Lorraine, would you
Sure.
report on that?
We've met 3 times and we've come up with a few things that I can share with you. The date is going to be October 6th or 13th. This will be the 9th annual symposium, but when we say annual, it's not really, because we had 2 years with COVID that we didn't have it, but I still think the annual just means it consists, like it's the 9th one. So I'm not sure if we have to change the word to something else, but it is our 9th symposium.
I thought it was on October 5th,
Yeah.
the symposium.
Just a minute.
Well, I have it right here. It's, yeah, it is the 5th. You're right. It's always on a Friday. Sorry about that.
So that would be
October the
6th.
6th is the Friday.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at May. You're right. October 6th is a Friday.
Okay,
So it is
October
the
6th.
But the only reason I wanted to debate with all of you about that is it's the long weekend. And I worry that in the past, when we've tried to get high profile speakers, they don't really want to give up their Thanksgiving to come to speak to people. And a lot of us don't want to spend a day before they might be going to see relatives on Thanksgiving weekend at a conference. So that's why I said maybe the 13th would be a better Friday.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, that's right. It's like for all of us that like Friday the 13th.
I won't
Wow.
be here then. I'm leaving on the 12th for 3 weeks.
What do you think the 6th would be all right then, or what is your?
No,
what is your-
I think your reservations about the 6th are justified.
Can we bring it back to
The earlier week, the
September?
Yeah,
September.
is that a possibility?
For me?
29th.
Well, we've never done it in September, but that's one part of it. But the other one is we've just got a group going, and I look ahead how many weeks there is to plan it. We haven't got speakers booked, so I'm just panicky, Tonin, to not do it closer. I'd rather do it, October gives me at least 2 months.
Let's do October. I have lots, and we with our new executive director, I'm quite busy at the museum, so September's gonna be pretty much taken up.
I thought that our MEO has agreed that she will be our second speaker, and we'll be updating the change in the
We'll
railway
have to bring
museums.
that before the board, yeah.
Our lunch, just so you know, we're going to be in 2 places. The morning, we're going to be at Station Theater, and we're going to have speakers there that are going to be talking about, what we've come up with so far is the future of the past, debunking heritage myths, or the importance of debunking heritage myths. And what we're trying to have speakers talk about is how easy and how an asset a conservation district is in your community. And secondly, how important it is to protecting your home if it's a home that should be designated. Don't fight it, promote it, and be happy and feel pride in the fact that, wow, I've got designated property. Because what we've been seeing is pushback from people not wanting to designate. And that's unusual, I think. I think a lot of communities, people reach out. I know in the city of Ottawa, people are always trying to put their own home forward for it. So those are the themes, or the thought we have this part. We continue to meet, and we do have Nikki Dwyer gave me a couple names of people who would be good speakers for the positivity of Conservation District. And then someone, was it you, Marianne, that had somebody that was talking about how it's not a big deal to designate? It's not something you should be afraid of?
Well, there was somebody out of Kingston that spoke last year that we had at the Heritage Conference, and I wanted to contact her, but she has not responded to my emails.
Oh, maybe she's got a new phone or something.
I don't know. Well, it's still her,
Yeah.
that's the email that we have.
Okay, so that's what we have so far. But we do have a mailing list, and Jenny is working on a save the date. because we've always had, and I'm trying to do it the same way we've done it for the last 8 times. The save the dates going out next month, and it will have the costs, where it is, what the themes are, and they'll have to get back to us by a certain date. And in the past, we charged, I don't have it written down, but I think it was do you remember, Tony? Was it $15 for the meal and 10 for registration? It was $25, I think.
25 or 30, I think 30 comes to mind anyway.
Might have been 30. But I think we stay with that. I mean, no cost of living's gone up, but I'm hoping council is going to continue to think this is an asset for them to give us some money to use.
Maybe we can look at tourism as well, because we are bringing all these people to town, and most of them, some will be staying overnight.
Yeah, for sure.
So we probably should firm up the date today.
13th?
13th of October.
Is everybody okay with the 13th of October? Chris, are you okay with that?
I think that's going to be attractive because they're going to have Monday off. That's going to be a short week. I think that'll be more attractive.
Is that
Friday the
Is that, you
13th.
think that's okay? There's nothing on
Yeah,
council
we're-
wise?
Losing Dorothy.
Oh, I just won't be able to.
Well, we could do it the week after. Are you back then?
No,
No,
I'm not back
she's
till
3
November the
weeks.
5th.
Oh, well then. Sorry, Dorothy.
We give up.
Yeah. That's why I was happy at first, thinking it was the 5th. But you're right, and it's not. It was the 6th, but I didn't think about
But you know what? We could
Thanksgiving
try the
weekend.
5th. I mean, if
The
that's
6th.
okay.
Thursday.
Or
The 6th.
Is that 6th Friday? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think your reservations about Thanksgiving weekend are valid. I mean, yeah. Did we have it? We did have it then before, didn't we?
I
And was it?
don't think so. We've had it the second week, I think, all along, but
Okay.
maybe we did one
I
year.
think we did.
Actually, I think we did one year, was
Yes.
the 5th or something.
And was it poorly attended? I wonder.
I don't think any of them were. You have the mailing list, Jenny. What was the last number?
65, I think,
Yeah.
the last one.
Okay.
So maybe we should do that. We'd love to have you. You're kind of our head honcho. So can I, what does everybody feel? Raise your hand if you think the 5th's going to be okay to try.
The 5th or the 6th?
The 6th. Sorry.
The 6th.
How many times are going to change this here? I have no trouble with the 5th.
There.
All right.
The 6th.
6th. All righty. The
Okay.
6th is the symposium.
Okay.
Okay.
And Jenny, you can change that.
Work on that.
Okay, thank you. That's all I think that we have.
It's a good thing you have delete over there, Mary.
Sorry?
It's a good thing you have delete.
Okay, well, next item is round table. So I think we'll start with Tony, if that's okay with you.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I do
Yes.
have something. Okay. I submitted to Mary my proposal for having the ward burial site designated. She's bringing it forward next month. I have, as you know, I've been boring everybody with this for years. For those of you who are not aware, Ward Burial Grounds is located at the end of Breckenridge, which is now Aberdeen, and Albert Street, which is now Jesse. It was a pioneer graveyard in Smith Falls, first used around 1830. A lot of canal workers were buried there. We have proof that they were buried there from headstones we have found. And what happened with the graveyard is in the 1850s, the mid-1850s, when Smith Falls was being incorporated, the residents of Smith Falls wanted the ward burial site to be taken over by the town of Smith, by the municipality, to become the municipal burying grounds in Smith Falls. Council dithered with it for about 8 or 9 years and finally bought Hillcrest off. They bought that off Simpson, by the way. Simpson lived on the south side of Brockville Street. Ward had all the other property, and they were quite antagonistic to each other. They were, bitter. They were very bitter rivals. The town purchased Simpson's land out here for £300. After that, the Ward burial site was still used for some years, and of course, it fell in disuse after Russell Abel Ward's son died in, I think, early 1880s. It was purchased by another gentleman. I don't have his name here. It's in my submission to the committee. And he put a notice in the Perth Courier that those who had loved ones on the site of the Ward burial ground, what was known as the Ward burial ground, to have them removed within 2 weeks.
Oh,
Of course, now this is 1883, 1884. I don't have the dates with me. But of course, John By had asked Ward if he could use the site as a burial ground. And yes, they were using it. John By's was using it. A lot of the itinerant Irish workers were buried there who were dying in droves of malaria. They were buried on this site, as well as the McGigan in Merrickville. We have proof positive of Mr. Scott, who was 40 years of age, who was buried there. He was a master mason. When master masons passed away, the other master masons would make them a headstone, and it would be feathered. We have it out at Hillcrest now. There's a row of gravestones out there that were moved from the Ward burial site at some point, but there's no remains underneath them. So if the site, of course, fell in disuse. The man who purchased the land, he was promoting a housing boom, but of course, after the Civil War, recession, there was a recession all through the 1890s. Nothing happened there. The land sat with the graveyard on it until the early 1950s. For those of you who might know Joyce Bernicky, she remembers playing on the gravestones as a little girl out there. At that time, there were still the remnants of wooden crosses. It was bulldozed, the grave site, and the housing development was built out there. We have documentation of one worker who was putting in services at that time, and they dug up a skeleton. And, well, actually, it was half a skeleton. They called the Smith Falls Police Department. They showed up and called the coroner. The coroner showed up, which was Art Murphy Sr., not Art Murphy, who passed a few years ago. Anyway, Art Murphy Sr. said, yeah, it's probably a canal worker. It's over 100 years of age. And the man's name was Don Willoughby. He used to work for the town. And so we asked Don, what did you do with the skeleton? He said, oh, we threw it back in the hole. What I'm getting at is there's many remains on this site. It was our pioneer burial ground. It is listed in the abandoned graveyards of Lanark County. It's even has a number. The graveyard ID number is 235. It's latitude 44 8896 333, longitude 760222. And I say it's registered as a graveyard. And it's my submission to the committee that it should be designated as a heritage property. And it also should be, well, I can read to you, I have written away to many letters, but the one that's got the most reward back was from the Bereavement Authority of Ontario. That's from the Deputy Register. Now I'll read you what I got back. Where is it? Okay, please, yeah, this would acknowledge your receipt of the email that I sent him. Please be advised that an owner of land who has a cemetery on their property is required by legislation, since the Cemetery Act revised 1992 is now the Funeral, Burial, and Cremation Service Act of 2002 to be licensed as the operator of that cemetery. If the owner of the cemetery lands cannot be identified and the cemetery is not being cared for, the municipality is responsible. That abandoned cemetery must ensure the site is maintained and protected to reflect and respect the dignity owed to the persons buried at the cemetery. Please contact the municipality of Smith Falls and advise them of the site and of its history, which I have done. Should they have any questions, etc., they can reach out to the licensing office for assistance. Anyway, that's what I've done with it, and that's my part of roundtable.
And you're going to bring it forward at the next meeting?
Yes, yeah. Yes, Wayne.
I'm trying to visualize, like, now it's in a subdivision of sorts. Is that what you're saying? It got
Some of it is, some of it isn't. A lady, 2 streets up Jesse, 3 years ago, was digging tomatoes and planting tomatoes and came up with half a headstone. I believe in the survey, the town survey upstairs, that whole area is marked in red. The reason being, anybody who wants to build a garage or anything in that area must have an archaeological survey before they dig.
So Tony, what are you suggesting then? Are you suggesting that the designation would just be a memorial kind of tombstone of sorts that recognizes that that's used to be a cemetery?
Yes, I am. And also it's the town's responsibility to identify it. Yeah, it is an abandoned graveyard. There are remains of people there. We can go out there right now and I can walk you over where you can see where the coffins have caved in and there's dips in the earth.
Yeah, I think tremendously interesting story, Tony. And I know we got on this with council too, the abandoned cemeteries throughout Montague Township and so forth. And I know of some of them and they're still debating whether they're going to take them over or not. I don't know if anyone, I'll just give you a little background here. The House of Industry in Perth. Does anyone know where that was?
Yes, and the one in Athens. Yeah.
Okay. So the House of Industry was there, and those people, when they died, were taken to a cemetery area and buried with no markers. Nothing. They were registered in a book that the House of Industry kept. A gentleman came to county council with this book and said, I want to put a bench here. I want to put a monument and list all these people's names on there. And that was done to recognize that this site has the burial of all these people. It's not a tombstone, but at least it's a marker of some sort. I don't know if there were records by the Rideau Canal kept of burying these people there that were the workers of the Rideau Canal or not.
Well, we have walked the grounds and we've divined there, and there's 60 plus graves at that site.
Wow. But some of the site, some of the site has been developed with houses already?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
On top of it. Is
wow.
that what you're saying?
Pardon?
Like there are people buried under the houses.
Oh, yes, there's people. There's one house there, they dug up a skeleton and a half.
Wow.
Another house there, they were digging in their basement. They wanted to enlarge the basement and run into a coffin.
Oh my gosh.
The place should be recognized. It should be designated. It's a historic site, for goodness sake.
But, sorry, if that happens, I don't disagree if that happens, okay. Those houses that are sitting on top of the burial plot,
They are.
if they go to resell those, does that not have to be disclosed?
It should have been, yes. But is that our responsibility? Mine is I'm asking for designation for it. And in my submission, the municipality needs to recognize it as an abandoned graveyard and look after it under the legislation.
Yeah, it's the municipality's responsibility,
It
as you
is.
read in the letter, okay. But do we designate the entire area where the houses are?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I mean, that could be a real mess. Sorry.
Do we stick our head in the ground and ignore it?
No.
Yes, Chris.
No, we have to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe this one needs a report from staff to, I don't know what the right, you know what I mean? When we think of the OHA and there's all kinds of legislation with burial areas on top of it, and just figure out what takes precedent and what the options are, I guess, because it's not your traditional, you know what I mean? We're dealing with a structure and the structure has these features or the landscape has these connections. And
You have a responsibility under this act.
Yes,
Yes.
it's
I
the
think
law.
I said that to the past administrator years ago,
We're not dealing with a property, though, is your point, right? Where maybe it's
And you're-
a cultural heritage landscape,
Yes,
which is
That's
a
exactly.
category
Yes.
completely.
we
So,
could designate it as a pioneer
yes,
graveyard.
yes.
We have, like Fulford Cemetery along the St. Lawrence is a designated cemetery. It was designated through the province.
This is a designated cemetery, ID number 235.
Yeah, it's registered with the province.
Yeah.
It's registered as a cemetery.
So how much vacant land is there still, Tony?
There is vacant land where the school is there. and all up where the hydro wires is. There's another story for you, Klaus. When they were putting the hydro line in there, this old chap walked over from Broadview and said to the hydro workers, "Watch where you're digging there. You're gonna have a surprise."
For hydro workers. Well, so who owns all this excess land?
I think some of it could be hydro. A lot of it's belongs to the town because
Or to the school board.
it's on the right of way. School board in the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can even see where the sidewalk ends there. That's where the graveyard starts.
Yeah.
But I really think, to Chris's point, we can recommend that we think somehow it should be recognized as a cemetery and designated. But then that has to go to council and whoever is above that's going to make that kind of decision, because we
No.
can't make that decision.
But the bottom line is,
We should agree, yeah.
yeah, but the BAO, like it states, it's the law that abandoned cemetery needs to be taken care of, and it needs to be recognized that it's there. Even if it's not
That's their
designated, it still needs to be recognized that it's there.
Just from a municipal heritage, as a municipal heritage committee member, I am asking for it to be designated as a historic site. That's it.
Maybe we should take a vote on that, shouldn't we?
Well, no, not today, I don't think. I think we should wait until it's formally on the agenda. So at this point, Tony's bringing it out to our attention, but it will be on the agenda next month when we can have a more in-depth discussion about it.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, thank you very much, Tony.
Okay. That's all.
Do you have? No, thank you. I have a question for you. I just
Okay.
wondered if council had received the engineer report.
Not yet.
No?
Not
Okay,
yet. So, but it's an any day now
okay.
thing, and it should be. My understanding is it'll be put on the website. Like it'll be a report to council, so it should be on the website for that meeting.
For the next council meeting, you think?
Whenever it. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't no update on, but it could be any day now based on the original timelines. So.
Okay, thanks. That's the engineering report for the old water treatment plant.
Can I ask what is that aerial thing up with the wire hanging down? Is that to see if it's moving at all or something?
I haven't noticed that. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
I haven't been to look at it lately.
Was
And-
that there the day we were there?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
No, it wasn't.
I'm guessing it has to be either some kind of surveillance or I have no idea.
It's a
Speculate.
24-hour surveillance, is it?
I hope
Stick.
That's like closing the gate after the horse is gone.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Well, they secured that so many times. It didn't matter.
Well, that's debatable.
That's very
That's all.
diplomatic.
Very good one.
Okay, Chris, do you have anything else for roundtable?
Nothing for this week, thanks.
Okay, Klaus?
No, nothing.
Lorraine?
I this is not really related to our committee, but it is to the fact that I love our town so much. But we had such a wonderful Porch Fest in the community, the area of the community where I live, and bigger numbers than we've ever had. Like that whole area was just filled with people enjoying being in, a district of old houses. Now I'm going to say old people, but
Becky would take offense.
at any rate, it was a great event, and I'd like to thank all the people who organized it. I think, Pat and a crew of them did all the entertaining part, but it was really a lovely day, and it's nice now. I think it's going to be an annual event, and it just really promotes old buildings, and how wonderful that neighborhood is. So.
I led a group of Rito Trail members on the historic walk a couple of weeks ago, and we walked through. We had to start at the arena where we parked, and we walked through your neighborhood, and they were all again very, very impressed with the architecture and the stories of the history of Smith Falls.
Good.
Yeah. It always seems to be a big hit, and these are people who don't live here, so it went quite well. Marianne, do you?
I just have something to bring up. Tracy Gata just returned from the Heritage Conference in London, and I can't remember the name of the program, but in London with their heritage plaques, they now have a scan on it so that you can scan it and then you phone and then you can hear. Like then there's somebody on the phone that explains the history of the building to you. And there's a program name for it, but I can't recall. But they said the only cost of it is the cost of the phone line.
It's a barcode, right?
No, it's a scan, like it's an actual a QR code. Yeah, and then you just scan that and then it comes to your phone and you can listen on your phone about the history of the building that you're standing in front of. I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to bring it up.
As long as you're connected to the internet.
Well, it's phone.
It doesn't matter.
Ah.
I don't think, because I tried to do that at one point during my travels, in a museum or a cathedral or something, and I couldn't use the QR code because I wasn't on the internet. So,
Oh, well, then it's not a very useful.
but generally though, people have data.
Most people have
Most
data.
people
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
If I was in a
Phone's not
foreign
there.
country, that was why I
Most
couldn't.
people
Yeah.
have internet on that.
Yeah.
Oh, so it is. Oh, okay. I don't know if mine is or not. I have to find out.
Well, that's something we could certainly think about.
I thought it was very interesting. I'll look into it more.
District organized.
Yeah.
and-
I thought, well, we're working on the plaques. If there's
Yeah,
any
add-
to be
add that to our
replaced.
Very long list.
Anybody want to contribute anything else? Okay, if not, the next meeting is July 26th. Same time, same place. Would somebody move that we adjourn, please? Chris, thank you. All in favor of adjourning? Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Stay tuned.
Mary, is it all right